turn to be that. So when they would go, when they would go away, they wouldn't turn around. They would walk to the sides. A person who leaves his Rebbe should not walk back. He shouldn't turn his back on the Rebbe, but rather, what should he do? Oh. When he would leave Rabbi Yochanan would leave him, Rabbi Yochanan would stand on his place and bow to him until Rabbi Yochanan would not be in front of him. Rabbi Yochanan would want to leave, and would walk backwards until he was hidden from Rabbi Yochanan. When Rabbi left Rabbi Yosef, he would walk backwards. Does anybody know something special about Rabbi Yosef? He was blind. Rabbi Yosef was blind. So when Rabbi would walk backwards from Rabbi Yosef, was Rabbi Yosef aware of the cover that Rabbi was giving him? No. It says Meiri and Asur Lashiv is like all this spoil from this. And you see over here, when you give cover to a Rebbe, it's nothing to do with the Rebbe getting the covered. It's a matter for you yourself. It's a bring you in and others. The reason a person gives covered is not for the Rebbe. It's for yourself to get the covered. For yourself to read this. He would walk backwards. Adam Dakvan Kori until his legs would get banged. Because Rabbi would always walk backwards, he would always bang his feet. The threshold of Rabbi Yosef was covered in blood. Whose blood? Rabbi's blood. Does anybody know else where Rabbi bled? No, called Rabbi that he killed. Rabbi killed with Zeva. More in Shabbos, that's where that's the sister that Satsuki said, rash people who were sitting hands, the fingers were bleeding. Rabbi was obviously a very so Rabbi Yosef, top from Gimel, they said to Rabbi Yosef, this is what it does. It should be the Torah Meshach HaKol Kracho, that you should be the Rosh Hashiva, the head of the whole town. Look at Ben Hanan again. Belashiv was one who showed me to look at that. But if you look at it, I've got to make a more. It's 4 lines by me. That we should always pass on Kavava. See over here that Belashiv points out that to become a Moira Hariva doesn't say over here that he knew more, he learned more. But because he had that covered for Rabbi Yosef, that's why Rabbi Yosef davened for him that we should always pass. We always pass on Kavava with very, very few exceptions. Omar Alexander B'Shabbat. Now we're going to learn a little bit about taking 3 steps back to the end of Shemona Esrei, which is similar to the halachas of walking backwards. We should take 3 steps back. The Beis Yosef brings this halacha, and he has a huge harichos as to why. It's why it is. Beis Yosef. There are many, many reasons. We can't go through the entire Beis Yosef. Just say one idea the Beis Yosef does say. We had it before, the Gemara in Yoma, beginning of Yoma, that Moshe Rabbeinu spent 7 days and he walked into the Ashras Hashchina top of Har Sinai. And the pasuk says that Moshe Rabbeinu walked through Cheshech, Onan, V'Arofim. That when Moshe Rabbeinu came in front of the Shechina, he walked through 3 different mechitzas, 3 barriers. And when he left the Shechina, he walked out of 3 barriers. When a person davens from Esra, he's as if he's in front of Hashem. So the end of the Shemona Esrei takes 3 steps back to show you that you're also leaving those 3 barriers. It's a huge thing that people don't realize, that opportunity, what it is to daven Shemona Esrei. A person would only be able to daven once in his lifetime. He spends his whole life waiting for that opportunity to daven Shemona Esrei. You're doing what Moshe Rabbeinu did. So that's one reason Beis Yosef. He says many other reasons, but this is an interesting reason. He says 3 steps back. The Shiur says, by the way, that the first step should be with your left leg, because to show reluctance. And you should only take a small step. Then the next step should be with your right leg, a slightly larger step. And then the left leg should take another one. And then you all have this. If you work it out, very good, very good. Oh, he said it better than me. Whole, half. And then that way your 2 legs are then next to each other, right? So you take your left leg, a whole leg on the right, and then that way you've got the 2 steps together. Okay, we're going to meet similar halachas. Then you should say shalom. You should stay still. You're not supposed to move back to your place. How long should you wait? The amount it takes to walk 4 hours, approximately 1.5 to 2 seconds till Kedusha or till Gilchot starts again. Moshe the Talmud and Niftim and Rabbi B'chuzel Altif goes straight back to him and a Kerev Sheshav Al Keo. It's like a dog who goes back to eat something which he threw up. There's many explanations to that, but I just say the simplest. When you mentioned very briefly, dogs they seem to eat foul foods. When they throw it up, it seems a certain maturity that they're throwing it up because it shows that they realize that they meant to throw it up. When they eventually then eat it again, they show that the throwing up was not for maturity. What? You've seen it? Ooh, it's disgusting. Okay, no, nice picture. The Beis, what happens is that means the person comes back straight away. He shows that which he waited, that which he took 3 steps back is meaningless because he wasn't really thinking about it. That's the simplest explanation. The 3 steps back shows that he didn't really think about what he was doing. He's just going straight back, so he's not really thinking. Okay. First, you write into your left, from his right hand, Hashem gave us the Torah. This pasuk, I just want to speak about it for 1 minute, because this pasuk we say all the time, every night at Kirshman Amitzah, it's in Yoshi, we say learn every Shabbos morning, and many people are not clear what the pasuk means. There's Rashi's explanation and a Dak's explanation. I once heard Rishon Pinkus on the recording speak for 40 minutes just on the Dak's explanation. I always speak for 40 minutes, but it should have made a huge impression. Rashi says that Rashi is like this: 1,000 mazikim, 1,000 people to harm you, camp on your one side. You put sitcha on one side, and 10,000 mazikim on the other side. And you don't have to be scared. Because imagine you're surrounded by an army, 10,000 one side, 1,000 other, and you're not scared. That is how Rashi explains. The Radak explains Yipur. Now, according to that, the word Yipur means what? What would Yipur mean? Camp. Rashi even says, like, the end of Parshas, Togus of Vayetze by Yishmael, Rashi says, Nofa means to camp. So Yipur is they'll camp on your side, not before. The Radak says Yipur mitzad cholaf means 1,000 people shall die, and then the word Yipur is more simple. Yipur means they shall fall. And 10,000 people will die on the other side. It means you're watching, you're standing literally in a Holocaust. Thousands are dying on all sides. How's what's going on? To you the won't come near. Says Radak, why not? Why not? If everybody's dying around you and the Pashas Lord Tzaddikim, why shouldn't the person? That's the next person. Because you said, Hashem Machsi, Hashem is my protection. And this is what he was speaking about. That when a person says, Hashem Machsi, that I rely on the protection of Hashem, then a person could be watching thousands dying, even those greater than him have done more mitzvahs than him, but he is sure to be safe because he said, Hashem Machsi, Hashem is my protection. If that's all you do is I say Hashem Machsi, if you read it perfectly, Hashem Machsi. I said over this for once. I said it's a very, very important word. I once brought out a conscious Kabbalah Hashem Rabbi Tochen, so I put it in there. It was not only used it. It's a very, very important point because many people don't notice. Hashem Machsi, Rashi adds in the word. Ki ato you, Omarto, you said Hashem Machsi, Hashem is our protection. Because you were the one who said Hashem Machsi, that's why you're safe. It's a very important point. Okay. Why do you have to have 2 psukim to show that the right is more stronger? Normally people stretch things out in the right hand. 1,000 on the left and 10,000 on the right. That he did first the right. First your left. That is the right of Hashem. In fact, that's how we do it. We take 3 steps back when you're already bowing, and you first do it to your left, and then you do it to your right, then to the middle. Why do you do it to your left first? Because it's Hashem's right. Once told me that he was standing and and then what happened was he saw him bowing to the right first, and he was very disturbed. How could you make a mistake? So what happened was he afterwards went to manage to get permission to ask. And he was thinking that there's a Zohar Kodesh that says that a tzaddik bows to his right first. Why? Because a normal person faces Hashem. The Rashi says that the Avos were covered to the Shechina, that Hashem dwells on them. Since Hashem dwells on the tzaddik, so the tzaddik is actually got Hashem Shechina on him. So therefore he bows to his right and then to his left. So a couple of times I've davened. I remember once davening in Beis in Yerushalayim. I just couldn't get close enough. I wanted to see. But if you ever do get opportunity to daven by a great tzaddik, I don't know, you go to Hakodesh, it's such a see. Do they bow first to the right or to the left and then to Shemona Esrei? Well, if it's that's already a different question. What? So I'm sure you all bow to your right first because you all show your Shekhinah on top of you. Like the Rashi says, by the obvious Akdoshim, Yad Hashem Me'olov, says Rashi, because the tzaddikim are Mekabel Shechina. It's actually, I have to tell you that if you look in the Sefer, like Nittik Gavir, he mentions it. The tzaddikim, they bow to the right first and then to the left. Okay. Says they did all 3 steps while one bow. That's how we do it. You don't stand straight and then bow, but you take all 3 steps back while you bow. It was part of the you down the small tefillin outside. Why did you down the short tefillin? Sugar very good. My matzi, what did I have? He was from Hashem. Can you stay? Rainy and warm. Is being warm an advantage? Is one thing maybe in England, but not in so. It's warm enough. Say im shchuna take shuma. In the period we say on Yom Kippur, we actually say these words. Im shchuna tehei geshuma. The musaf period, if you notice, you'll notice this. Im shchuna, if it should be warm, it should be a rainy year. That the kingdom should never be removed from the Beis Yehuda. They shouldn't need to provide for each other. They should be self-sufficient. You shouldn't listen to the tefillah of those going on the journeys. People going on the journeys, what happens? They daven that the rain should stop. Why do they daven the rain should stop? Because they're getting disturbed by it. So therefore, the Kohen Gadol would daven that the tefillahs of the Oved shouldn't go in. There's a tremendous amount of Torah over here. I just say a couple. The Gvur Savi asked an unbelievable question. That the whole tefillah, 85% of it is a Lashon HaKodesh, except for 5 words. He says, what's the 5 words? Lo yadi ovid shulta with Beis Yehuda, that the Malchus shouldn't move away from Beis Yehuda. Why should those 5 words be in Aramaic? So he says like this, the Gemara tells us in Brachas one should not daven in Aramaic generally. Does anybody know why you shouldn't daven in Aramaic? Very, very good. The Malachim don't speak Aramaic. So if you speak Aramaic, they will not be able to help your tefillah get to Shamayim. Says the Gvur Savi that here there's not a problem of that. Why is it not a problem of that? Shtav Alechaim, if you think of it. Even better. Even those who are malachim that have a tzuas Adam, there was no malachim there. If there's no malachim, you can speak in Aramaic. Says the Gvur Savi, very, very nice, beautiful, just beautiful. But why only that in Aramaic? Everything should be in Aramaic. What's the point? So the Mepharshim say that there's a special halacha that you do not say words of psukim off by heart. If you ever see, there's a sefer called Oyesol, a beautiful, beautiful sefer. I've got 2 of them actually. Beautiful sefer, you can borrow one, but it's a very heavy sefer, but unbelievable sefer. And he's got there 2 letters of Zuntum and Salant wrote to his son. And the whole letter is basically quotations of different psukim. But he never writes more than 2 words of a pasuk. It's quite hard to read. Because, why? Because he didn't want his son to read psukim. You're not supposed to read psukim off. You're not supposed to just, nowadays we won't make it because we know psukim off by heart, etc. We're not supposed to say psukim without. So he didn't want to use the pasuk or Yosel Shevet Be Yehuda, which is the tefillah is davening for. So he did the targum of those words because he didn't want to say Torah Shebechsav Osel Eimod Baal Peh. Since Torah Shebechsav Osel Eimod Baal Peh, stuff he had to say to them, make. And it's all very, very nice. And here, I have to tell you one other very short word. Rashi says, I heard from a Chassidish Rebbe, and he doesn't say from who. This before I was thinking it was a Gvur Savi. This is from the house of Rashi. He said, I heard from a Chassidish Rebbe, and he said, this is very, very important to your son. He says like this, a person going on a journey might get wet. And if he gets wet, what would he do? Daven Nation rain. And that is a terrible danger. There'll be no rain in there. So because of that, the Kohen Gadol, and you say the Piyut, we also say that in the Piyut in Yom Kippur. What do we say? The Kohen Gadol would daven. Don't listen to Oved Dvachim. This person on the journey, in those days, everybody worked in agriculture. He also needs rain. And the whole of Klal Yisrael need rain. And this one person is going to daven, there should be no rain. How would he do such a thing? What kind of cruel person would he be? Of course, nobody would start davening, there should be no rain. And furthermore, if he does daven, the tefillah should make such effect. says the answer is even if he doesn't daven, because the person wouldn't daven to stop rain. So rain is a bracha. But in his heart there would be a krechts, and one can never truly evaluate the true greatness of a sigh of a yid. One doesn't know what it can cause in Shemayim. And if he's a special tefillah that it shouldn't spoil the rain. Because it's an unbelievable thing. A person has to be very, very careful. So there's a person who cause harm to another person, he sighs from that thing. A person doesn't know, that you don't know what the koyach of one anocha. What? Tefillah la'oni chiyativ. Rabbi says that only has a stronger power to the Moshe Rabbeinu. That the person who's feeling dejected and he cries out to Hashem, that like so the depths of his heart, and therefore we have to have a special koyach not. The Gemara tells us that with these beautiful stories now. Went to the journey, and the rain started coming down. Everybody's happy with the rain. The Chanina is upset. The rain stopped. The Beis, when he came home, he's in pain. I'm happy. Why was he happy? So one unfortunate, I think the Iri says, was very, 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 very poor, by the way. So he never had any fields, so he didn't need any rain, so therefore he was okay with it, but everybody else was sad. Also, bitter the rain came. And again, I have to point out, the Sefer Hava says, that how could he do such a thing? What was he thinking the first time to stop the rain? The answer is, Chanina ben Dosa knew that his koyach was such that if he would daven that the rain should come back, it would automatically come back. So therefore, when he knew that he has the controls of rain in his hands, he's allowed to daven that rain should stop and rain should start. Unbelievable. What use is the tefillahs of the Kohen Gadol when you go with Chanina ben Dosa around? When Chanina ben Dosa around, he controls the world. All the tefillahs are meaningless. Unbelievable Gemara. I just happened to notice this. There was another Gemara. Chanina ben Dosa sat in Gan Eden. Who did he sit next to? Who does he sit next to? You could guess. You're probably overthinking it. His wife. Sat next to his wife. The reason I mentioned it. The Goyim say to death do us apart, something like that. But it's very wrong. Because the Yiddish Ashkofa is death doesn't do us apart. So Chanina ben Dosa, I can't imagine a greater tzaddik like him. And he sat next to his wife. There's a certain understanding how much effort we should be putting into making sure that we have a good marriage. Imagine you fight in this world, and you sit there in Shemayim arguing with each other. What? Maybe why I should fight without credit cards. Nice, I am. But it's an unbelievable thing to think about. Okay. Tell me about the Beis. We can go to Lechad Sheikh with philosophy down very long. We wanted to come after him to see what's happening. They said came out. If they macht with philosophy, why are you davening so long? You're upset that I davened for you. We have a Mishnah that you should daven long, not to make Klal so scared. Again, the hours, a few hours of this. I say very, very briefly. It's a lot to say. Beautiful things. Now, who was this Kohen? It was Shimon HaTzadik. Shimon HaTzadik felt free to daven long. Anybody want to suggest why? You actually said it the other day. Somebody said it. Because he was such a tzaddik, he was confident that people won't get nervous about him. And yet they still got nervous. So there's a sefer, again, it slips my memory. I did see it quoted in the House of Rabbi. And he says like this, that it's just an interesting thing. When did Shimon HaTzadik live? Anybody know? Beginning of the second Beis Hamikdash. When did Rabbi Yehuda Steinberg live? 100 years approximately after Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, about a distance of about 400 or 500 years at least. That they said to him, you shouldn't have done this. Why Shai Shoninu? Because the Mishnah says, what do you mean the Mishnah says? The Mishnah has not been written for 500 years. Is the proof that the Mishnahs were very, very old. And we've said this many times. All Rabbi Yehuda did was he compiled the Mishnah. To say that he wrote the Mishnahs is incorrect. There's other things over here that even the tzaddik has to be careful that people are scared. Okay, says the Mishnah. Mishnita la'orim, once the arm went, even though there was a stone, mimois nevim or shonim, v'shsio is a nikras, it was called shsio. Shsio means a foundation. It was the foundation stone. We will discuss at length. That's right. Gavoy with all shlish exposed, only 3 fingers above the floor, and on there he would put the keteris and the smoke and everything else. Not on his hadam. Now he takes the dam, which you remember, he shechted his part, and whereas the man's been stirring it for a long time, on the fourth row, Mishamayos. So I'm going to say this little bit outside, then we'll do a bit inside. He now did a series of zvikas. Always he would do achas l'mala shav l'mata. We've discussed this once before. The achas l'mala shav l'mata, the Gemara actually discussed it, does not mean that he would reach higher than the first one and 7 lower. It was just basically the direction of the throwing motion. There's 2 ways to sprinkle, like this and like this. So 1 upwards and 7 downwards. He did it with the cow's blood in front of the Aron HaKodesh. Then he did it with the goat's blood in front of the Aron HaKodesh. Then he went outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim and he did it on the Paroiches. Because if you remember, imagine he's standing in front of the Beit HaBadim, that's already standing in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, past the Paroiches. The Paroiches is to his back, and he's doing it towards the Aron. Then he goes back and he stands almost where he was a few minutes ago, just a meter away, with the Paroiches in between. And again, he does Achas L'Bala Shav L'Mata, but this time, he's behind the Paroiches. Achas L'Bala Shav L'Mata, once with the cow, once with the goat. How many sprinkles has he done so far? No, 32. Achas L'Bala Shav L'Mata is 8. He did it once with the cow, once with the goat. And then once with the cow, once with the goat in front of that. Then he takes the 2 and he'll go on to the Mizbeach HaZohov and he'll do a whole load more sprinkling. It's Machlokes state exactly. We're just trying to get a clear picture. And the Mishnah now tells us the details aside. He stood where he stood before, that's where he stood where he put the keteres. Not up and down on their own. The word matzif, Rashi over here says, I don't know what it means. This Yid should have asked the Galach, this Rashi, what Rashi means. But Rashi says, look, kematzlif means, another place Rashi says, kematzlif means like somebody who whips. When you whip somebody, you don't always whip on the same place. You go lower and lower across the board. Again, achas, then achas. The reason they did it is not to get confused. Achas l'shtayim, achas l'sholosh, achas l'arba, achas l'chomesh, achas l'shesh, achas l'sheva. Yotzot v'nicha kanazov shebechol. Here, he would put it down on a special holder to hold the blood while he would carry on. Why didn't he ask somebody to hold the blood for him? Anybody want to suggest? Very good. We don't want anybody else to come in. Very good. So therefore, he would put it on a special holder. He realized that soy. Now he took this soy. Which soy is this? One of the lottery which had on it Hashem. The Gaon adds that whatever it says before, that he didn't try and get it up and down, the Mishnah repeats everything. Not like our Mishnah, which missed out some of the words. According to the Gaon, all what it says before, it says it again and again. But it's the same halachas. You didn't go higher or lower, it's just a different way, a different motion. Now here we have a problem. He comes out and he's going to now sprinkle with the goat. Now, all our avodah b'sprinkle has to be done with which hand? Right hand. There are 2 ways to do this now. He's got on the stand a bowl of blood, and he's got a bowl of blood in his right hand. What's one way to do it? Is to have 2 stands, put one down, pick up the other. There's a danger in that, is he might leave it for a long time, etc., etc. We'll more discuss it. The other option is to have only 1 stand, and then to hold the blood for 1 second in his left hand, pick up the one which is in the stand with his right hand, and put the other one down. The chisaron with that one is that for a moment he's holding the bowl of the blood with his left hand. So this is machlokes tanoim. What was the better way? Was there 2 stands or 1 stand? Let's see inside. The second stand, that's the Tanakama holds, there was 2 stands. There was only 1 stand. Not a again, exactly the same rules, 8, not up and down, but just in different directions. He would then pour the blood of the cow into the blood of the soy. Can you imagine? Here's the blood of the cow, here's the blood of the soy. He pours one into the other. And then, then you empty into this one. Does anybody know why? Very good, to mix it properly. That's the best way to, like Sheva Brachos. Oh, very good, like Sheva Brachos. It doesn't say when the Aron was hidden, and when it was taken away. And now we're going to have a Gemara which we've had already a couple of times. What happened to the Owen? Was it hidden? Was it taken away? What exactly happened? Crazy. Tonight, command them on go to the Baba. The time of Mo and go to the Baba. He took Velo. He took him to Baba. That's Chonim Klei Chemdas Beis Hashem. Chemda means that which is desirable. What was the most desirable Keli in Beis Hashem? So, Dovo can sometimes mean a matter, but it can also be words. Elu Aseres HaDibros Shepoidashins Dovo and Dibros. But the Shlokish on the Mokin Ignas, it was hidden. Shnema V'yor Rosh Habadim HaPesh V'Advir V'lo Yivor HaChutz V'yu Shom Ad HaYom Hazeh. The Pasuk says the Owen was there until today. How can you say the Owen was taken away? The Owen was there forever. So you got Pasuk was there forever. Upliga D'Ula Doma Ula Sholom Basim L'Chos L'Shim L'Chad B'Vim L'Chmach Shv'Los B'Lam Dili Pav Shim L'Shnei on God of the Bovel. Rabbi Lezer finds two sources where to Bovel. We showed the Hoda'am on the first one that we said earlier that it says Chemdas Klei Chemdas Beis Hashem, which is the Owen. And another one, top of the Dalad Kol Hador, my Kol Hador, Chador. Anything Hey and Ches can be mixed up because it can be interchangeable. So Chador means on the inside. Atomato, what do you say? Stay there forever. How do you know it stayed there forever? Because it says by you Shom. I think we'll stop here because it's very, very light Gemara tomorrow. And I'm only going to get, by the way, till V'shiyos and Nikras non Daladom with Beis 5 lines from the top on tomorrow's Friday. And next daf is very, 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 very short. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, talk about Nun Vav is very, very short. So therefore, it doesn't matter if we're a little bit thin.